God has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living His will. He's got me in His hands. I'm chilling, chilling, chilling with purpose. God has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living His will. He's got me in His hands. I'm chilling, chilling, chilling with purpose.
Good afternoon / evening, everybody. Welcome to Chilling with Purpose, the broadcast that rescues the heart and the mind. We are so excited to have our guest this evening. My hair look like it's all crazy in the camera. Oh well, crazy hair day. There we go. Yay! Our producer will be joining us later. She had to take care of some business, and we are excited to have Iris got the Rez. What? He is joining us for this series of the mannequin versus human. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, and then we will get it going.
Well, hey everybody, and thank you, Apostle Kathleen, so much for the invitation. I was so excited to get the invite. And let's see, what is it to tell about IRES? I am originally from Colorado and moved to Maryland to the East Coast for about 4 years, and now I have relocated again to an undisclosed location for the time being. But I'm starting again, and I'm so excited about where I am now. Looking forward to whatever God has got going on. In ministry, I have 4 grown children and a whole bunch of grandkids and all sorts of stuff like that. And so I'm just excited about this phase of life that we are in, and I'm excited about being a midlifer. I think it's cool. I'm enjoying it, honestly. So other than that, that's all I have to say at the moment. Maybe more will come out later.
I love it. I love it. Y'all say hi to the Rez. How are you ladies doing tonight, Magdalene and Selena?
I'm doing good.
I'm great.
That's good. Good. Well, I want to do just a couple announcements. No, actually, guys, listen. I want to give y'all, I'm going to start giving some tips. This one is a hygiene tip. So let me change my little banner. Let me change my banner. It's going to be a little, what are we going to call it? Well, it'll still be like a hot topic. So this is going to be like a hot topic tip. Do not place perfume and cologne over an unbathed, slightly tart body. What it does is accentuate what's going on underneath. So it is important, even if you don't want to bathe that day and you just want to give the illusion, they have body wipes. You can use baby wipes, but we want to represent ourselves well. And for whatever reason that you don't, just use them. Wipe down a little bit and then put on your little perfume and your cologne. Okay, that's the tip for today. Yay. You'll thank me later.
Yes. And everyone else around them will thank you as well.
Hi, Mama Jackie. It is so good to have you. She is such a faithful viewer, and I love it. So I am going to turn this over to Maggie to kick it off with the mannequin versus human with our guest, Iris.
Okay, so one of the things that we were talking about being a mannequin is just being placed and dressed and just positioned, but not given any, you're not expected to do anything or have an opinion or even challenge any thoughts. Like we're talking about church because we are a Christian broadcast.
Mhm.
So you're placed and you're supposed to wear or do or say or act this way. And there's no challenging to it. And so one of the things that we want the people who come on or we interview is to tell us about experiences where you feel like you had no voice in your walk in your Christian walk or in your church or in anything, that your voice was, you were just supposed to be seen and placed but not show any emotion or have any value other than a display.
Okay, well, we're going there already. Well, uh, I would say, I've grown up in the church, and my brother was a pastor, and so you get used to church work, right? And not only that, but the influences of church and how you're supposed to be in church, they kind of stick with you as you're growing up, as you're around the church people, and then they tell you what's expected of you, et cetera, et cetera. But I think for me, one of the biggest ways is being a pastor's wife was probably the time that was very mannequinish for me. Because even though I was sincere in the ministry, I didn't feel like I had a voice for a lot of reasons. Because there's a lot of people, first of all, who don't believe in women being in ministry. They don't believe in women pastors. They don't believe that a woman should have a certain level of authority. Besides, the cooking and stuff in the church or whatever, the women's group. And also because sometimes when you are matched with personalities that are stronger than yours, um, then somebody's got to win. Somebody's going to have to kind of pull back, and then that's how you get to a point where you don't really use your voice. You just kind of just go with the flow for a lot of different reasons. And I have some of them, that I have notes to share, but a lot of different reasons why we just kind of just start to go with the flow and become a mannequin. So I would say that was definitely probably the most recent experience for me.
During that experience, did it come to a point to where you felt like you no longer knew your identity?
I I didn't lose my identity, but I lost faith in what my identity was, if that makes sense. Um, I had grown up, singing for years and, being involved with choirs and so forth. But working with people in this particular arena, I began to pull back because I didn't feel as confident as I had once felt. So I knew that that's what I was, but then when I got to comparing myself with other people, then I didn't really identify with myself as that. I was that, but not as good as others in that, if that makes sense.
Oh, go ahead, Sandra.
I was like, I know I came in late, but I thought that was interesting when you say losing faith in your identity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you said that you knew who you were, but you lost faith. So I don't know. I know I came in between. So it's almost like, is it the surroundings, the things it influenced it influenced you, and that is why you lose who you were? Uh,
Let me just go ahead and stop being politically correct. Okay. So if somebody tells you how much you are not or how much you kind of suck, sometimes you start to believe it.
okay.
And so when people continue to tell you what you're not and how good you are not and what you are doing that is not, and if we're not really rooted and grounded in who we are in God, then and it wasn't even so much I wasn't rooted and grounded. It came unexpectedly. Sometimes,
Ooh.
our our desire to love and to be loved can cause us to start to take a back seat because what with this person, if maybe if I do this, this person will love me more. Maybe if I sit back some, they'll love me more. Maybe if I pull back, maybe if I dim my light so they can shine, then they'll love me more. And once you get to any level of dimming, that is a place that is not of God. Why? Because God says He doesn't have pleasure in those who draw back. So when we get to a place where we draw back, now we're out of the will of God for our lives anyway, because we're not in a place where God told us to shine light because we are light. We're the light of the world. And so when we decide I'm not going to shine right now for whatever reasons, then you begin to lose your identity or lose touch with your identity and what you're supposed to be.
That's good.
That is very good. Yeah. So when the identity started to diminish, when did your eyes become open like, wait a minute? I am my self is being attacked. My creation, God made me, is being attacked. So when your eyes came open to that, how unpack that for us a little bit? How did you navigate that?
We really because I still have a relationship with God. You know, the funny thing about this is that we can still be in a relationship with God, but He could be far or near. You know, He could be where we hear Him or where He's just off in the distance somewhere. And when I got to a place of brokenness to where I couldn't take it anymore, I felt like I was kind of losing my mind. But I knew that's not where God wanted me. I knew that God didn't create me to be crazy or to not have a sound mind, right? This is not what He's done. And so when I got to a place where, listen, honey, I'm gonna tell you, you know, even in these days and times, fasting is the way. Like I you know, lately I've been doing. What kind of fast is it? Which if you pick it off the menu, I probably am doing it or have done it or whatever. Because if we're not fasting and staying close to God, then we're not going to be able to hear what it is that He's saying. And it wasn't to the point where I really began to just really cry out to God because I was tired. I was so tired of not being who I am. And so that's how we can feel like we're mannequins and we're just dressed up. It's because now you're an imposter. You're not being who you really are. I wasn't being who I was by just like, I should have been, honey. I let somebody out think that they was out singing me, baby. I should have been out there singing the way I know how to sing. You understand what I'm saying? But there were some things that were not taken from me that I knew were God and that were not touched. And that is some of the gifts that God has given to me, right? So I knew God gave me a gift to minister a certain way. But when I realized that, wait a minute, I am becoming less of myself and life is just going on and on and on. I'm sorry. I just said, something rose up in the inside of me. And I said, no more. No more am I going to sit in a back seat or dim so that you can become brighter and your light going out anyway. Anyway, next.
Yes, you said it. You said it. You said, boom, boom. Oh man, it was something you said that I knew I should have typed it so I wouldn't forget. Okay, so thank you, Holy Spirit. You said ministering the way, like in your way, pretty much, like minister how God made me to minister. Mm-hmm. So talk about that just for a second, because and this is still like in that vein of that mannequin versus human, because the one thing that we get to do if we have a mannequin, you get to give the pose to the mannequin. However you shape the mannequin, that's how the mannequin functions. So sometimes they have a mannequin looking like they going to the beach and or they're saying hi like this, or they like, hey, because those mannequins have evolved over the years. And so when you said the not being able to minister like how God made me, you're a, no offense, you're a girl, you're chocolate, and at some points in your life, you're the pastor's wife, or them cute little terms that they want to just put on you. They don't even ask you, you want to be called first lady, or do you want to, what you want, lady elect? We done came up with all these little fancy things. Can I just be me?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that a little bit.
Oh, the expectation of being the pastor's wife, and then people want to call you different things, call you. And so then you have your expectation from the pastor who wants you to perform and do certain things at a certain level and make decisions when it is appropriate, or when it is even convenient for you to be the person making decisions. And then you have other people who, so, he may put you at a certain level, but then other people are still never going to call you that. They're still going to call you lady something, or first lady, or whatever. But then I learned to live with that, because they call me like they see me, and it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's not in the title. It's you see me as a person who is responsible for, taking care of souls, and to be nice, and all of that. And so, the thing of it is, when you are in that role, you still want to please God. And later on, God even told me, I know you did everything with the right heart. I know your heart was in the right place. Even in dimming my light, my heart was in the right place. It wasn't in trying to displease God. My heart was, okay, and a lot of pastors' wives go through that. They go through that whole, well, I don't want to diminish, my husband, he's a pastor. I want to be respectful. I want to do, and even to this day, I will always be respectful because of who God called. I will never be disrespectful to anybody in my life, because we all belong to God, and I owe my life to God. So, to be in that place, and that's why, God, he looks at our heart. God, man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart. My heart was still right. My heart was still in the right place for God's people, and that was the focus. It wasn't so as long as I wasn't trying to promote myself and still focusing on God's people, then that's how I was able to continue to move through that.
That's good. And Glenda, we have your question up. Did you do this all in the name of love? And I know the question came in delayed. So will you clarify your question for us, Glenda? At what point were you asking about doing something in the name of love? Please do that for me. Thank you. Okay. You still, oh wait, I had a private question asked me, what's a lady elect? So it depends, I guess, on the denomination. I know I've heard it more than once. I've heard it in the Baptist world. I've heard it in, I think, Church of God in Christ. It depends on what church you're in, right? Would you agree with that?
Well, not denominational, but I'm very familiar with lady elect, which is usually the person who serves alongside the man who's actually the department head.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Sandra. You're on mute.
I'm having a whole conversation by myself. So the thought that came to me is, I know our topic is, mannequin versus human. So what in the church do you feel like sometimes it's more like a mannequin, meaning because of the tradition, the same thing compared to if you are, and I look at the human as the person that is following Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance that in your walk with the Lord in the ministry as a,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
that.
it's interesting. I was kind of thinking about that a little bit earlier because, I think as church people, we're so focused on saying the right things, so it's either I'm an overcomer, I'm more than a conqueror, I'm doing great in the Lord, and don't confess that and all these other things, or then you have you get a Downer who's just like always got something negative to say, and they seem like they have no faith whatsoever, right? So there's like really nobody in between. I think in this day and age, we as saints of God, as ministers, have to be more transparent and have to be more human, right? We have to talk about the things that are bothering us. We have to talk about the fact that, we're hearing all the same things that everybody else is hearing, and we're bothered too. So it's not a matter of talking about, or it's not a matter of not saying that there is something, but to take that further is how are we dealing with it, right? So it's not just to say it and just leave it there. And, like I'm dealing with some stuff on my job. Like I just said that, a little bit earlier. I'm dealing with some stuff on my job. Okay, but what, right? The Bible always has a word of hope. We don't just leave it right there at what the situation is. If we don't know the answer, but we know that we can take everything to God in prayer, but we know that God will perform all things and he will perfect all things that concern us. These are the things that we begin to confess over what our situation is. And so I think it's definitely important, especially now, because the bottom line is there's so much fakeness out there, and people can see fake.
Yes.
They're not going to listen to faith. Faith don't witness. Faith doesn't even tell of the goodness of God. Faith is just faith. That's all that it is. And so if we're not willing to be more transparent about our struggles, but then again, we still have a responsibility to those who are still growing in faith, again, to give that hope. But if we're just talking to, just our peers or whatever, I think it's important to say that you're struggling, right? I was reading before I came here the scripture that talks about to confess your sins, confess your faults. Well, above that, it's talking about, hey, if you're happy, say it. Sing. If you're wherever you are, say what you are and be that in what you are. But then if you're not that, then say, I'm having a problem with this, and now I need you to pray with me to be healed. That's what that scripture is saying.
That's good. Okay, I agree 100%. Be real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was real good. That was real good.
Yes.
Have you found that being real, or really just being authentic, is intimidating to people?
Oh my gosh. Why are you asking me that question? Because you already know the answer. That's why you're asking me that. I had somebody tell me once, Sister Arez, people can look at you and tell you don't play. And I'm like, why? Like, I try to be smiley and friendly and hey, hi. But I think that for the most part, if you are a person who is straightforward, it can be intimidating to people. And with that intimidation comes loneliness. It comes isolation. Because I am not a person that has a lot of friends. I never have been a person who had a lot of friends. And even when I try to dim my light, take it back some, try to be extra friendly, smile even more. And even now, being in a new city and I started, going to my new church, I am trying to win people and say, hi, look at me, I'm really friendly. Look, see, I'm friendly, you know? But sometimes there's nothing you can do. If people are going to be intimidated by you, they're just going to be intimidated by you. You just go on about your business. Be you. I'm still going to be me regardless. Either you take it or, that's the way it has to go.
I like that. All right, Maggie, we back in your hands. What's next with you?
Okay, so you talked about them saying that you're a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that you had a lot of um, struggle because being a woman in the ministry, and they wanted you to actually be like a wife instead of a minister or a pastor or teacher or whomever. They wanted you to be like a wife or minister, but you couldn't go anything more than that.
I would say, you know, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of men out there that it's okay. Yeah, you can do that ministry thing. Yeah, you can do that business thing. Yeah, you can be successful. You can do this. But while you do all that as well, and I'm gonna expect you to be right. You can do all of it. So I'm not gonna keep you from being what you say you want to be, but at the same time, you're still gonna be what I say, and I'm the voice, not you. I'm gonna be the one who's in charge. So when you're over there doing your thing, go ahead and do your thing. Okay, that's cute. But you still be mom, you still be wife, you still be, the woman in this scenario.
And so, how did that make you feel emotionally?
Um, I really, again, I think I wasn't focused on my own emotions, and that I think was ultimately my mental breakdown because I wasn't connected with myself emotionally in that way. I knew I wasn't healthy. I knew that I wasn't happy. I knew that I wasn't 100%. I knew that I was not being everything that I was created to be. But I was a mannequin and I had these clothes on and I couldn't do anything about it until God came and showed me what else I could put on. I didn't know that I could wear a different outfit until I got to the place where my dresser, my line dresser, the man who can change my outfit, showed me, hey, you can do this now. You can look like this. You can move your arms like this. You can move your head like this. I didn't know.
Oh, that's so good. Before you say something, Maggie, I just want to interject this part when you were describing about, okay, you can do this, but I still need you to, it's almost like it was implied that, okay, why are you doing this? But I need you to still remember that you're a wife and you're a mom, almost like you were going to forget.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, it was like that implied thing. And
Yep.
I know if it were said to me, I'd be looking like, well, duh.
Right.
Like, what else would I do? It's not like I'm not going to act like I'm too good to still be a wife and a mom and whatever, the housekeeper, because chances are you probably had to clean the house more than the spouse and all of that. So am I on the right track in thinking that that's how that unfolded as an implied thing? Like, don't forget these duties over here, if you will.
Yeah, I think a lot of women go through that. I think, oh, Jesus, please help me. I think that people benefit where they benefit. If it benefits you, then it's great. I will allow it because there's some benefit there, right? There's some benefit to other people. There's some benefit to me for you to continue to do that. But part of that yielding my identity was not taking a stand in the fact that I'm all of that.
Yep.
I am a mom and a wife and a servant and a preacher and a singer and a coordinator and all of those things that I am. And that's the thing about women, us in general, is that we're more than one thing. We're a whole lot of things all at the same time. And whenever we allow a light to come in or something come in to dim that, then it's like we struggle at the rest of it because we're not in all of it in wholeness like we're supposed to be, right?
Mhm.
We're just kind of operating in a certain percentage of it, but we're not doing all of it because it's not all of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you feel um fractured? Did you feel like you had parts of you that were broken and your
Mhm.
identity was rooted in and grounded in just being this, but there were so many other things that you were, and so then were there any guilt for being fractured? And when you found yourself, did you have guilt for all the things that you experienced?
Why you got Professor Maggie on here asking me all these questions? Y'all trying to Barbara Walters me on here or something? Um, I felt guilty because I felt guilty. I felt guilty about feeling guilty. I felt guilty about the way that I felt. It was my fault because I felt like that. It wasn't anything else around me. For me, it was my fault. Why don't you feel better about how you feel? How come you haven't gotten to a place in God where you're feeling like that? You are, prophet so and so. You're pastor so and so's wife. You're this person. And I'm one of these people that they talk about strong people and they just think you just don't have feelings. So then when people just continue to walk all over you and act like, just mistreat you and all these other kind of things, so then this begins to become sort of the norm. So then you retreat back to the place of all these voices, not, crazy voices, not demonic voices, just self-talk of type things where it's just not healthy. And so, did I feel fractured? Oh, I absolutely felt fractured. I have several entries in my journal where I talk about how I just wanted to be whole. I really just wanted to be whole, but I did not know what was broken
Hmm.
to be whole.
Wow.
So, yeah, so to know what to become whole, we got to know what's broken, and I didn't know.
When you were going through this process, did any of your family or your husband or the people closest to you, did they notice a difference and did they say anything?
I'm one of those people where I think everybody just thinks that you're always okay. And I'm sure there's some people that can identify with that. You're just fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Everything's fine. That people say that now in joking. I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. But everybody just, I think, always thought that I was fine. And I didn't expect for my children to see. They're young people, young adults. They're trying to get their own lives together and figure stuff out. I had no expectations from them necessarily, but I I think I was trying to still present myself that I did have it together. It was like a combination of those. I didn't want anybody to think that I didn't have it together. I didn't want anybody to think that we did not have everything together. And truth be told, we know, especially if you've gone through ministry and you've seen people in ministry at a certain level of ministry, you know that everybody is not okay and stuff happens and people go through drama and they go through breakdowns or relationship issues or whatever. Just because you're out in the limelight, it doesn't mean that everything is okay. But after a while, I started to have a couple of people that I trusted to sort of share some things with. So it started to get a little bit better. And who knows, maybe that was part of the journey to my healing, part of the road to my healing, was because I began to confess where I really was.
Hmm.
That's cool. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Were you getting ready to say something? Okay. So I want to rewind a little bit. You had mentioned, okay, I was holding all of this in. I had my breakdown. God is repairing. And you also stated, I went from Colorado to this place to an undisclosed place. Was that part of your restoration as well? It wasn't just like, some people will will leave because they're running instead of staying put until, or was it a need to exit for the restoration to occur?
So here's the thing. So we talk about brokenness, right? And I wish I had all of the scriptures and things to talk about that. But there are times when we need to just be broken, because it's in that brokenness that God begins to rebuild the way that He wants us to be rebuilt. And so we're so busy trying to hold this and hold that and fix this and don't let it fall, don't let it break. Sometimes we just let it break. Just let it completely fall, let it break, let it be what it is. And I did that. I mean, I did that. My experience where I moved to a place to start over again, I didn't want to deal with the shame of people looking at me and identifying me with who I was no longer. Same name, but I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that place. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in that position anymore. And and people can just be so silly in the things that they say. I saw so and so, or why do you feel it's necessary to talk about where somebody came from? You know what I'm saying? Just hug the person and say, it's good to see you. You look good. I love you. I'm praying for you. You don't have to go all in their business and say this, that, and the other. So I did not want to deal with that. And I was happy that was someplace where I went somewhere where nobody knew me, for God to heal me. Nobody knew my name, which became a problem after a while. But on the onset, it was good, but after a while, it's like, nobody knows who I am. So anyway, that's a whole nother bucket of issues.
But that's pretty funny, because initially while you're healing, it's like, I'm okay that nobody knows me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that now no one knowing you was a sign of, oh, I'm ready to come out from under the tent or out from under the cover and live life.
Yeah.
According to my restoration.
Oh yes.
Not my past.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And the beautiful thing about that is I know who I am when I show up somewhere. I'm not showing up as my representative or who I think I should be or who I think everybody else thinks I should be. Or I'm not dressed up the way people think that I should be dressed up. When I show up now, I am me in all of my knowing who I am. And I wish you would try to tell me what I ain't and what I can't do. I wish you would. But at the same time, I'm not pushing that agenda because I am that whether you see it or not. And that's it, that's all.
There's a lot of relatives to Peter. Like, I wish you would. What? Okay, go ahead, ladies. I had to mute us because something had started happening. So y'all can unmute and ask your questions. This is so awesome. Thank you for sharing a piece of your life and the vulnerability of it. And then you're also sharing with us the restoration of it. And I would venture to say that you're still on that healing journey, because some hits that you have taken, they cut deep.
Yeah.
Sometimes those take a little bit longer to heal, and yet you can still be in a good place to be like, oh, but it's okay. It's okay. I can do this. It's okay if I see you. It's okay, because I'm healed enough that my insides are not shaking.
Yeah. Well, and then you also take hits while you're getting hits. So what's really disappointing and sad is that sometimes some of your closest friends can just disappear. Sometimes people that you think are going to be there for you in your, most darkest time just decided they flip out and they make it about them. And you're going, wait a minute, I don't understand. And so there's definitely insult to injury. So I would say that there are some things that there's a lot that I am healed from, you know what I'm saying? But then there's some of those other things that still just don't quite make sense. And I still kind of think about it and I still wonder, why did things go that way? I don't understand. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, there's still some healing to do in things that were indirectly, you know, a part of, what I was going through.
So, what are some of the things that you do to restore your soul, which is your mind, your will, your emotions, your heart, the seat of your passions? What are some of the things that way that you don't get stuck again?
Hmm. During this time, I went to the lake a lot, and I did a lot of walking, and I spent a lot of time around the trees, and all those kind of things. I actually was kind of jealous because I didn't think that black people like trees. I thought I was the only one that really liked trees. And so when I was telling somebody one day, I was like, oh, no, no, this is my friend was telling me one day, she was like, oh, I just, because I love trees. I was like, no, you don't. I like trees. Black people don't like trees. I never hear people talk about trees, but they are so healing and life giving. And to be in a place of the nature and those things that are close to God. So that's definitely one thing. And like I said before, just kind of doing those things where I pull myself away and just talk to God. Um, I know that growing up, we talk about fasting and everything like you are just you're a superhero and you're super saved. I needed it to survive. I need that time to just stop and listen to nothing else but God and sit in my chair and cry and journal and journal and journal and journal until I felt better. And the reason why that's important to me, my journals, listen, I will grab my journals now. If it's a fire thing, we had a tornado warning the other day, grab my journals and my Bible, honey, those are the things I'm going to grab because they're my rhema word. Those are, my journals have stuff in there that God has said to me. I go back and read a few days later, a few years before, and all of that, and I'm reminded of what God said. I'm reminded of even who I was then versus who I am now. And so when I look at my journals and I see the progress and I see the ways God has come through every time that He said He was going to come through, then that's one of the ways that helps me to stay on track because I know that I was there, but I'm not there now. But I'm going here because He said that's where I'm going. So it's like a twofold thing: it's where I was and where I'm going at the same time.
Sandra, did you have a question? I had seen you on mute too.
Yes, I have to take notes of certain things she says. So the thought that came to me was I first of all, I'm happy that I don't know you, so that makes it, but I'm happy to know you now. I thought about like when you were I guess married, that it's almost like you were a cocoon.
Mm.
And then now that I'm seeing you and I hear you, the word that came to my mind is the woman that was a cocoon now turned into a butterfly. And it's
Yay!
beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's what I was sitting and I was hearing God says. It's like, that life had you, even though there was good and bad and good parts, but it's almost like, you were so not yourself, but now you're
Yeah,
just flying now and blooming and growing, into all and doing all the things now that God had assigned for you to do in the beginning. So
yeah.
I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And while you were talking, I also want to make sure that I am balanced in what I'm saying. So I can't say, because nobody holds you hostage to not being you. Nobody holds you hostage to that. I had my own ideas of what I thought a pastor's wife should be as well. I had my own ideas of what I thought I should do in my role and how I should act and how I should treat people. I have my own, perceptions of that. And so I was caught up in the idea to a certain extent I was trying to be a perfectionist, and that's sort of my personality anyway. It comes from me being a child, being the youngest of eight, and nobody cared anything about me. They didn't care if I ran away. They didn't care if I was there, if I wasn't there. To this day, they kind of don't care about me. So it came from me saying, okay, maybe if I'm this, then people will like me. Maybe if I'm this, people will love me. Maybe if I'm this, people, will say you're so great. You're this. So it wasn't so it was like even like a double hitter in a way because I had this scenario, this situation, this life where there were expectations of me, but then I had my own expectations of myself. So now I'm in a double whammy because where are you meeting anything? And so who's measuring that? Like who's your measuring stick? Are you talking to God? Are you trying to do that yourself? Who said that you have to be this, that, or the other? You know what I mean? Who says that you have to be the perfect anything? So I'm telling you, God had to break all of that. All that broke. It's just broken.
Well, Glenda said that you have always been beautiful. Didn't feel it, see it, and didn't believe it at times about yourself. And she's just making a comment like how many of us have experienced that, married or
Yeah.
not.
How many of us have experienced that? So what is your measuring stick? Who are you measuring yourself
Mm.
I am so glad now to be 55. Yes, that's right. I am 55 years old. I have tried to color my hair twice and it does not stick. I have gray hair. I have teeth that are missing in the back. I have wrinkles under my eyes. And I got a little extra jiggle to my wiggle. Do you understand what I'm saying? But the bottom line is, thank God I'm here. Can you see me? If you can see me, then I'm blessed enough to be here. And that's the only stick I need to measure myself against, is the one that allows me to wake up every morning and smile and see another day and have some breath in my body to get it right again. That's all I got to worry about. So if people don't like how I talk, how I walk, what I'm pigeon-toed and what all, I don't care anymore. Because at this stage in life, I gotta live every moment like it counts. I don't have time to not be who God made me to be. I don't have time for that. Anybody got time for that? Okay.
I was wondering when that preach was coming. Okay, man. You want to see, do I have an offering in my offering? Mm-mm-mm. And baby, it just gets gooder from here. The older you get, you be like, what? I'm not doing.
It's wonderful. You know what? I so enjoy now because when I was in my 30s, I was fine. I was fine. And then, when I was in my 40s, I was fine, but I had work at it a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And now we had pretty beautiful. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be fine. I ain't trying to catch. I ain't got none. If I get one, great. If I don't get one, great. I ain't trying to swish and swoosh for nothing and nobody. You understand what I'm saying? Because when God calls my name, then I do what I'm supposed to do. I don't want to be caught with my work undone because I'm so busy trying to catch attention in ways that I don't. I'm trying to please people, trying to be this perfect, get this praise from people who don't even know who they are themselves. Like, how can you tell me I'm great and you don't know who you are? I can't. I cannot.
Wow. Did you really just say trying to get praise from people that don't know who they are themselves?
That's right.
That's a Selah moment right there. I have another question for you. Wow. I may have to write that on a sticky and put it up. Okay, so God has done some great things, still healing, still being restored, still moving on. You meet your doppelganger in mannequin form, your twin. Because they say all of us have a twin.
Yeah.
Or a look-alike. And so you meet that person in mannequin form. What do you say?
What do I say? I don't know what I would say. I think I definitely would have to be led to say something because you got to know that you're broken. You got to know that you are in a place that is not healthy. And some people will not, again, if somebody would have said it to me, it would have just made me angry. I don't think I was ready to receive something like that. So I definitely would pray for them. And I would have to go as God leads because everybody's not ready to have their own come to Jesus moment or come to yourself moment.
That's fair. That's fair. Ladies, do y'all have any other questions for our beautiful guest?
I don't have one.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't have another question.
That's funny. She did all that. It was like, I don't know.
She doesn't have another question.
Okay, so before we sign off for the evening, what would you like? Because here's the thing, even when our live version is low, we get high volumes of replay and people go to our website to watch. What would you like the viewing audience to know about Iris Scott?
Iris Scott doesn't hold anything against anybody because we all are human. All of us are human. And even in times where we don't understand why we are being treated a certain way, everybody has their own issues and why they act the way that they do. So, like, I think about my mom, and she had me when she was 42, and she had health issues and all sorts of stuff. And some of her belief systems, when it came to relationships and things, were, they were different. But then when you consider where someone comes from, it's a lot easier to have compassion on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important before we blame people and lash out at people or criticize or judge people. First of all, consider yourself and consider why you think the way that you think. Why are you acting the way that you act? Like I said, I was trying to get approval because I've been trying to do that since I was 5 years old. So that's why I was doing that. Why is the person who's talking to you the way that they are talking to you that way, treating you that way? In what ways can you ask God to show you to have compassion on people so that we don't walk in bitterness and we don't walk in hate and we don't walk in, anything that is not love? As Elder Brenda had said earlier, did you do it in love? I want to do everything that I do in love. Everything that I say, I want it to be in love. I have nothing against anyone. I hold nothing against anyone. I just want people to be whole and healed. Find out where you're broken so that God can make you whole and heal you in a place of that you're cracked, that you're broken, that you're shattered. If you don't know where that is, it's time to get to seeking God.
Now that is a great introduction. This is what she wants you to know about her. So anyone that is watching now and later and on down the road, she's not mad at anybody. Or as they would say, she ain't mad at you. It's all good and it is all well.
Let me tell you this real quick. So after the brokenness comes the most beautiful experiences ever. And you experience God in the best place ever. You get the biggest blessings ever. That's all I have to say. I'm so blessed. The people knew how I live and where I am and what's going on. I'm so blessed ever.
Yes. I can amen that for real. I can amen that for real. So listen, y'all, Iris Scott was in the house on March 11th, 2015, and she was 2015, Lord Jesus, 2025.
Yeah.
And she was chilling with purpose, y'all. She was chilling with purpose. So before we go, I just want to introduce y'all to our guest that's coming up. Iris, thank you so much. This has been a joy. I know we're going to have you back for something. We wait for the Lord to download who we're supposed to ask and what that looks like. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Amen. And so, y'all, next week, the I love saying what the old folks used to say. The Lord delay is coming.
Mm-hmm.
If he don't come back to get us next week, we'll be back at 6:00. And our guest will be Janet Essex. And we are going to hear from her about the mannequin versus human. We also want to say on the 23rd, we are going, which is a Sunday, it's not a Tuesday. On that Sunday at 3:00, we're going to do a live Chilling with Purpose in a location with some guests to end this series. But as we go out, or go throughout our season 6, you'll see us doing some just pop-up lives, and we will download them to our Tuesday broadcast. That's going to happen on March 23rd. But listen, y'all know how this ends. We love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Bye.
God has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living his will. He's got me in his hands. I'm chilling, chilling, chilling with purpose. God has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living his will. He's got me in his hands. I'm chilling, chilling.